So, how many of you would say that Yoru is stronger than Nayuta? I bet there's very few of you that would actually come out and just outright say that the War Devil is stronger than the Control Devil, especially after what we saw in the last few chapters, with Yoru being reduced to a dog by Nayuta. However, I'm here today to tell you that, yes, in fact, the War Devil, the weaker War Devil after everything that happened with Pochita prior to the series, with the devouring of nuclear weapons, with the removal of World War II and the Nazis. Yes, that War Devil is in fact stronger than the current Control Devil. She is in fact more powerful on her own than Nayuta is. I can already assume some people are already saying this makes no sense, or there is no way that Nayuta could be possibly weaker than someone she has controlled clearly and plainly, and even been able to mess with the memories of not only Yoru, who was in control at the time, but also Asa, who was on the other end of the dual personality spectrum at that moment. But in fact, yes, I am absolutely certain that in a fight, Yoru would win. How can I say this so plainly? Even though I'm the person that goes around saying that the Chainsaw Man power system is fluctuating constantly, and how one devil can be strong one day and exceedingly weak the next, depending on public perception. Well, the answer is rather simple. It's what everything in Chainsaw Man amounts to when it comes to power scaling. It's the mentality of a character, the way that they think, the way that they feel, the way that they deal with situations that might put them at a disadvantage or might put them in a weaker state. We see with Makima that the Control Devil themselves, just by their very nature, by the nature of being a being of control, is weak. Weak when they're on their own. Weak when they don't have something to control. We see this in the fact that she knew that she couldn't take on Chainsaw Man. She didn't even try to take on Chainsaw Man by herself. She had to go through this entire series-long campaign, if you were, to try and reduce the power of Chainsaw Man, so that she, along with the entirety of Japan, basically, considering that's who was paying for her resurrections, in order to even have a modicum of a chance to take on Chainsaw Man. Whereas we see with the War Devil who has received the most weakening from Chainsaw Man, from what we've been able to observe, that because Makima never mentioned Chainsaw Man eating a part of what makes up the Control Devil, rather, but we know that Yoru is weaker than she once was. We know that. Yet she still believes in herself and in her capacity that she could defeat Chainsaw Man. And that, in of itself, is strength. Strength that will allow her to keep pushing and keep going where others might stop. And that is strength. And I don't just mean mental strength. Owing to Yoru's ability, the ability to turn others into weapons, and the strength of the weapon depending on the guilt of the person who makes it, Yoru's strong will allow her to make weapons that would be astronomically more powerful than anything we've ever seen in the series, because she has the will to push through the guilt. She has the will to keep going, to keep pushing, to take on that pain, whereas other people, especially Makima, would stop, considering how Makima's entire goal, as we're told, is that she wanted to make equal relationships with others, something that has been passed on to Nayuta, but neither of them have the strength of will to go out and actually try and make that a reality. Rather, they fall into their nature. They allow their nature to control them. And in a comical fashion, they become something that cannot have equal relationships with others. But again, how does this transfer into an actual fight between Yoru and Nayuta? Well, the answer is rather simple. The reason Nayuta was able to control Yoru at that point in time is because she knew nothing about who Yoru was. Nayuta wasn't aware that she was dealing with the War Devil. She wasn't aware that she was dealing with a devil at all. We can surmise that, yes, she knows that something's off about her, but she doesn't know exactly what Yoru is. She doesn't know how strong she is. She doesn't know what she can do. But if she did know what Yoru could do, if she did see her as a devil, as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, as one of her own sisters, I think that would have been a very different outcome. Unlike Makima, I don't think Nayuta has the arrogance or the self-assuredness to deem herself superior than the War Devil, than another member of the 4 Horsemen, especially with her being so young, especially with her being raised by Denji, and especially with her not having the life experience that comes with age. In the end, I feel like Nayuta would have been unable to control Yoru if she was aware of what Yoru was. And even if that's not the case, if she saw what Yoru could do by herself, on her own, without needing anyone else, discounting Asa because they're basically the same person at this point, or at least the same person biologically, I feel like that would make Nayuta feel inferior to her, making her abilities not work. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that Nayuta's abilities did still work on Yoru, even though she knew who Yoru was. Say that she had the inner strength to deal with knowing that she was physically weaker, that she didn't have the resources that Makima had, that she didn't have the level of control over the situation that she might have liked. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that she did still control Yoru, that she did still manage to reduce her to a dog state if she knew that. I don't think that means that Nayuta is necessarily more powerful than Yoru. I feel like situations matter more in Chainsaw Man than people give them credit for. For instance, I don't think that Nayuta would have been able to tag Yoru if they'd been prepared for it. I don't think Nayuta has the speed, the strength, or the ability to actually go toe-to-toe with Yoru. And that makes sense, really, because the Control Devil is a manipulator, someone that stays in the background, someone who doesn't get into conflict, or at least not directly. That is why we saw Makima lose. She got impatient. She started to push more than the Control Devil ever should have pushed. If she had just narrowed down, been more restrained, she could have beaten Denji. She could have won, but she didn't. And that's why Yoru would beat Nayuta in an actual fight. However, we also know that if it comes down to it, Nayuta has the potential to become just like Makima, someone who doesn't fight, but rather gets others to fight for her, someone who will bring in allies, which is where you have to determine whether you're looking at the strength of an individual or you're looking at the strength of what an individual can bring to a group. But overall, as I said right near the beginning of this video, mental strength is what really matters when it comes to Chainsaw Man. The maturity, the ability to deal with things, to push forward no matter what, is just, it outweighs everything else in this series. We see it with Chainsaw Man, we see it with Yoru, we see it with Aki, we see it with Power. It's absurd the amount of times we see that mental strength matters more than everything else in this series. And the fact that people just keep looking at the generic baseline that, oh, this character has the ability to do X to X character, without taking into account the limitations or the situational setting. It's mind-boggling. But now I'm just ranting, and I feel like this entire video might have just been a rant, honestly. But if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, ring the notification bell. I've been the Anonymous Weeb, and I wish you a good day or night wherever you are.